All right, today we're in Inequalities, day 3. The first thing we need to do is review some of what we've learned in the first 2 days, just in case you were by chance to have a very short progress quiz tomorrow, just in case. Okay, all right, so that's not the problem I want to give you. All right, 10x minus 15 equals 5x plus 25. I want you to go ahead and solve this equation. Go ahead and solve this equation. Knowing how to solve equations is so important for Algebra 1. It's really the first 2 chapters of your textbook. Out of 11 chapters, the first 2 deal really heavily with being able to solve equations and inequalities. What did you do first? What was step 1?
Minus 5x on both sides.
Okay, so she minus 5x, why? Why didn't she minus 10x from the other side? Yeah, you don't want a negative connected to your variable, especially when it comes to inequalities, so that's just a good practice to always subtract or move the lesser of the 2 values. Minus 5x from both sides, and 10x minus 5x is 5x. But now, if I moved my variables over to the left side, what's going to happen to my numbers? Needs to move over to the right side. So how do I move negative 15? Add 15. You can do that in the same step. Okay? You can. Now, if you do it in 2 steps, it's totally fine. But if you move your x's to the left, you're going to move your numbers to the right. All right? And what's 25 plus 15? 40. And then what is my last step, guys? Divide by 5. X equals 8. All right. How many got that right? X equals 8. Okay. So here's what I need you to kind of do a progress check. All right. Are you getting better at these today versus at the beginning of the week? Okay. So maybe you're still confused, or maybe you're, not quite getting it, but you should be getting better. All right. If you were getting them right on Monday, you should still be getting them right today. Okay. So today, we're going to kind of pull what we learned in days 1 and 2 into this concept of solving an inequality and graphing the solution. And then we're going to write some inequalities also. So let me just kind of switch back over to your PowerPoint. In your worksheet, we are not going to do the top section, okay? And it's going to seem a little out of order, but we're also, we're not going to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to kind of jump around a little bit on those questions too. So just kind of stay with me doing each problem I ask you to do. Okay, we're going to do number 4 first. T minus 3 is greater than negative 2. When we first introduced this unit, we talked about the fact that solving an inequality is virtually the same, except one just exception that we're going to talk about tomorrow. It is the same thing as solving an equation. It's the same steps. Okay? So I need to solve for t. I need to solve this inequality. I need to get t by itself on one side of the inequality. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, go ahead and put your calculators away for today. It doesn't mean that you can't have them on your quiz and test, but you just don't need them. These numbers are real simple, so we're also going to practice our integer rules and sharpen those skills as well. All right, so we don't need calculators today. What would I do to get t by itself? Josh? Yeah, I need to add 3 on both sides. And what is negative 2 plus 3? It's just 1. T is greater than 1. So now I have t by itself. This is my solution, and now I'm going to graph my solution on a number line. What number goes in the middle? 1. And what numbers go on the left and right? 0 and 2. Is it going to be an open dot or a closed dot? An open dot. And is my arrow going right or left?
Right.
Okay. And I need you to define that arrow for me. All right. I would prefer for it not to be even with the number line because it is difficult to read. Okay. And we just want to make it abundantly clear which way our arrow is going. Now, let's talk about the solution for a minute. What does this mean about what is true about the inequality or the solutions to the inequality? What does this mean? Okay, can we put it into a sentence? Can we put it into a sentence? All numbers greater than what? Will be a solution to this inequality. Give me any number greater than 1.
2.
Any number. 2. Okay? So if I plug in a 2 up here for t, what's 2 minus 3? What's 2 minus 3, guys? Negative 1. Is it true that negative 1 is greater than negative 2? Yes. So let's get a little bigger. Give me another number. 16. Okay? So plug in 16 for t. What's 16 minus 3? 13. Is it true that 13 is greater than negative 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're showing here, what we're proving is, one, there's an infinite number of solutions. That's what this arrow means right here on the graph, that the solutions go on into infinity. However, where the point is plotted, that's my cutoff value. Now, the fact that it's an open dot means that 1 is not a solution. If I plug in 1 for t, it's not true. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 is not greater than negative 2. Do you see what we're doing there? I'm going to ask you this question a couple times today. You need to understand what you're actually telling people when you say that this is the answer. Does that just look like a bunch of numbers and letters to you or in symbols, or do you actually understand what that means? Okay, let's do number 7 now. I want you to solve and graph your solution. Go ahead and solve the inequality and graph your solution. Now, what did you do to both sides? You added 5 to both sides. What is negative 9 plus 5? Negative 4. So V is greater than negative 4. What 3 numbers would go on my number line, Trey? Yes, negative 5, 4, and 3. Did you write it in that order from left to right? So check your numbering. Last hour I had several people messing up that numbering. Okay? So you have to have it in that order from left to right in order to get full credit. Open dot or closed, guys?
Open.
Open. And arrow going right or left?
Right.
To the right. Okay. All right, how are we doing so far? All right, let's do number 10. What'd you do, Maya?
5 minus 6 on both sides.
And what's 5 minus 6?
-1.
Negative 1. And did you do an open dot or a closed?
Open.
And arrow going to the
Right.
right. Do you agree with her? Arrow going right? All right, number 11. I'm sorry, not number 11. We're going back to number 5 now. Okay? Number 5, something different happens here. Okay? What looks different about number 5? Can someone raise your hand and tell me what looks different about number 5? Josh? The variable is on the right side. So we need to figure out what that actually means, okay? That actually is pretty significant in terms of inequalities, and we don't like reading backwards. Anybody like picking up a book and reading from right to left? Does that make a whole lot of sense? No. Okay. Backwards, reading the lines backwards? No. We don't like reading backwards. So what Miss Johnson's going to teach you next year, and so I'm just going to kind of fall in line with how she's going to teach you, is she's going to teach you to actually rewrite this with the variable coming first. But here's what you have to be really careful about. Do you see how the inequality is open to the side with the variable? You see how it's open? When you rewrite it, okay, so p minus 2 is now coming first, it needs to the side with the variable, okay? So it kind of looks like the inequality is switching, but it's not. And then the 4 goes on the other side, all right? Because it was open to the p originally, and now it's still open to the side with p when you switch it around. And now the p comes first, we read the variable first, we solve for the variable just like we did on the other problems. All right, so go ahead and do that. All right, so what do I do to both sides? You need to add 2 to both sides, and p is, greater than 6. All right. So open dot or closed dot on the 6? Open. And arrow going to the right. So look back at the original problem now, okay? Because here's where I get the questions like, why do I need to switch this around in the first place? If you solve the original problem as it is, doesn't that look like a less than sign? You're going to think, oh, 4 is less than p minus 2. But which way was my arrow supposed to go in the graph? It was supposed to go right, because you have to read the variable first. Okay? So that's why changing the order and actually putting the variable first helps us get that arrow going in the correct direction. We're going to do a couple more of those before the end of class. Okay? So that's number 5. Now let's look at number 6. All right, this is the last one we're going to do together, and then I'm going to let you finish up this section on your own. All right, 2 is greater than or equal to h minus 5. I want you to rewrite it and then solve. Go ahead and rewrite it and then solve. Remember, how the inequality is pointing towards the variable, that needs to stay the same when you switch it around. Okay, so just make sure you do that. So the inequality sign is closed off. It's pointing towards the h, correct? So that means that h is less than. So when I switch it around, h minus 5, it still has to be closed off towards the h. Is less than or equal to 2. Add 5 to both sides, and h is less than or equal to 7. Close dot on the 7, arrow going left. All right, I want you to do 8, 9, 11, and 12. Let's go ahead and finish this up. Everybody's done with number 8, so let's get started on this. On number 8, p is less than or equal to 1. Everybody get that? You subtract 3 from both sides. Open or close dot on the 1?
Closed.
Closed. And arrow going which way?
Left.
Left. Can anybody tell me what this means about the solutions for this inequality? What does this mean?
Any number
Yes, any number.
that is,
Any number that
Less
is
than
Equal to or less than.
1 will make the inequality true. Okay? So think of any number less than or equal to 1. When you plug it back in, guys, when you plug it back in, it's going to make it true. It's going to make it true. Is that starting to make more sense? And there's not just one answer to that. There's really an infinite number of answers. And that's what I'm showing by the number line. Number 9. Okay? What did we say we need to do? It's not necessarily a must, but it makes it just, to the eye, it makes it a lot easier to solve. What do we want to do when the variable comes second?
make it first.
Make it first, but you have to notice, okay, so some of you are getting this messed up and we need to pay attention. It is open to the side with the variable. It's open to the side with the t. So when you rewrite it, the inequality sign still needs to be open to the side with the t. You see what we did there? Did you guys do that?
Yes.
All right. Then what do I do to both sides?
Add 7. Subtract 7.
Subtract 7. I have a lot of people missing this. What is negative 7 minus 7?
Negative 14.
Yes, same sign. Add and keep the negative. 7 plus 7 is 14, and they are both negative. Negative 14, open dot, arrow going right. Arrow going right. Anybody get 8 and 9 right? Both of them? Okay, we're doing well. All right, let's look at number 11. All right, what do I do to both sides? I went ahead and just switched them around.
Subtract by 5.
Subtract by 5. R is greater than or equal to 7. Close dot on the 7. Arrow going right. What happens to the double negative on number 12? Just tell me.
It becomes a positive.
Becomes a positive. Please rewrite it. Okay? Please rewrite it. Don't say, oh, well, I thought I figured it out, because then people inevitably still say that 4 is negative, and then they get the answer wrong. Okay? now because it's positive, I subtract both sides, and W is less than 4. All right? Okay, so just solving those one steps. How was that for a warm-up to inequalities? Okay? All right, so now let's look at number 13. Number 13. I have to look for the key words. I'm putting this sentence into an inequality, and I'm solving. I want you to try number 13. This is directly building on what we did yesterday with the phrases. Okay, we're going to try to get through numbers 13, 14, 15, and 16. All right, we're going to try to get through all of these. 13, did you do x minus 2 is greater than negative 10?
Yes.
Now, if you used a different variable, that's totally fine. All right, add 2 to both sides. What is negative 10 plus 2? What's negative 10 plus 2, guys? Negative 8. X is greater than negative 8. You don't have to graph it. Don't have to graph it.
I don't know what it's called.
Oh yeah, it says write the inequality and solve. But you don't have to graph it. Number 14, a number plus 7 is at most 4. All right, I want you to try that one. It's at most. So that combination can be at most 4. So what has to be true about those values compared to 4? All right, go ahead and write it down. Number 14, what did you write? Anybody want to give it a shot? Anybody want to give it a shot? Ethan?
X plus 7 is less than or equal to.
Yes. If it's at most, it means it can't go over that number. Okay? So if it says is at most 4, that means that combination of numbers cannot be greater than 4. Who did that? Less than or equal to. That's awesome. Great job, guys. That one you kind of have to read into a little bit. All right? Subtract 7 from both sides. What is the highest number it can be? Negative 3. What am I saying about the solutions? That in order to be a solution to this inequality, the value for x has to be less than or equal to negative 3. If it's anything greater than negative 3, the inequality will not be true. All right? So I need you guys to kind of really understand that. All right, number 15. Number 15. The difference of a number and 6 is less than 1. Anybody want to give this equation a try? Let's see. Somebody new. Sarah? Yes. X minus 6 is less than 1. And guys, once you write it out, I mean, that's pretty basic, right? How do you solve for x? Just add 6 to both sides. All right? And then x is less than 7. All right. Oh, we don't have to graph. I started it's such a habit. I started graphing it. Number 16. 8 is greater than or equal to the sum of a number and 3. All right. Go ahead and do that one. All right. Number 16. Mason.
Oh, 8 is greater than or equal to x plus 3.
X plus 3. And do I like the way that this is written? No, so how could I rewrite it? Someone read that off to me. Caitlin, how could I rewrite that one? Number 16. Anybody help her out?
X plus,
Anybody help her out? Sherelle. Yes. Okay, because, guys, you see how it's closed off to the x? It needs to stay closed off to the x. And now what do I do to both sides to solve? Subtract 3 from both sides, and x is less than or equal to 5. All right, great job. Who got that right? X is less than or equal to 5. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Tomorrow we are going to explore these word problems, 17 and 18. Start day 4. Day 4 is the last worksheet in the unit, so we're doing pretty well.